I'd like to spend a few minutes with you and explore the issue of talking to prospects, making invitations, and as you meet people and approach them, and whether he's talking about giving them a DVD or a mag pack or inviting them to a PBR, there's some general principles that are important that'll help you do this better. First, though, I want to talk about mindset. You know, so many people get involved in network marketing as a whole, and their first thought is, who am I going to get to sell this stuff? Who am I going to sell this stuff to? Completely erroneous mindset. Those people will be grinders their whole life. Really what your mindset has to be is, who can I save from mediocrity? You know, who do I know who's ambitious, successful, dynamic person who I think could be great in the business, that I could give them an opportunity to build financial freedom. Which really leads us to that first important issue when you're talking to prospects, and that's posture. I'm not talking about the way you stand, I'm talking about the way you approach people. Posture is about knowing what you have, and getting that across. I'll give you an example. Let's go a little bit deeper. The other thing about posture is the ability to present this as big. Okay? Now, understand, there's about 10 people that I approached for Agile Enterprises that I told them, you have the ability to make at least $100,000 a month with this. Okay? There's other people I said, hey, listen, you could do 50 or 75 grand a month with this. Now, here's what I want you to understand. You look at that and you say, well, of course, he's a triple diamond director. He's the #1 income earner in the company. When I made those statements, I was a team member. I hadn't even got my first bonus check. I wasn't making $1 million a year. I wasn't a triple diamond director. I wasn't even a manager. But I knew what I had. And it's really important you know what you have with Agile. Okay? We have this business, I mean, no stress, no employees, no overhead, no big investment. Pick your own hours, choose the people you work with. I mean, you're talking about an investment, $1,000 to $1,500 that gives people a 6- and 7-figure income possibility. It's extraordinary. And of course, I've approached a lot of very successful entrepreneurs. I've approached a lot of millionaires. But I knew what I had. And you need to know what you have with Agile too. And you need to have that posture. Stop begging people. Stop chasing after people. Stop pleading with people. You got to know what you know. Okay? Part of that is doing your self-development in the morning. And then part of it is just getting to the events, meeting the top leaders, seeing their eyes, meeting the company people, studying the industry of network marketing. So you really understand what you've got. So you know what you know. Okay? You really have to know what you have, and then you have to sell it big. The other thing that's important is you have to have a big list. Okay? Small list equals bad posture every time. Average person, you could tell them, okay, go out, do a list of at least 100 people, and they, you know what they do? They say, well, I know Randy said do a list of at least 100 people, but I'm thinking of the 5 or 6 people I got now I'm sure they'd be good for the business. So they don't do the list. They got those 5 or 6 people in their mind. So they approach those 5 or 6 people. Some of them get involved, some of them don't. Let's say they get rejected by a first few of them. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you what they're going to say. They'll say, I talked to everybody I know, and they're not interested. Now, why did they talk to everyone they know? No, of course not, because they know 300, 400, or 500 people, but they didn't do a list. Okay, you've got to do a list, and then when you do a list, it gives you power, because then you look at that list and you start to say, okay, I could work with 2 more people right now. Okay, let me look of all these people on my list. Who are the 2 most busy, most ambitious, most dynamic, powerful people on that list? Those are the ones that I want to approach first. The other thing is what I just mentioned. Go after the A-list people first. When you do the list and you've got it done, your big list, right? Then you look for the most busy, most ambitious, most successful people on that list. Now, how did I go to the number one income earner in the company? Two things, and both of them, they're parallel and they're both important. One is I did what I just mentioned. I really went after talented, dynamic people, and I approached them first. Now, we all have some people we'd like to help. We have people that need it, and we know it's a struggle, and we'd have to lend them some money for the executive kit. You know what? That's not your highest good to go and approach those people right away. Your job is to become successful first. You can't help anyone reach success with Agile until you've reached success. You can't show anyone how to go regional director until you're a regional director. You can't show anyone how to go diamond director until you're diamond director. So you need to go after the most talented people first. Now, most people, they sponsor down. They go after people who make less money than they do, have lower job titles than they do, have less education than they do, because they have worthiness issues. They don't know what they have. They don't have posture. You need to do the exact opposite. You need to sponsor up again, and you say, well, wow, that guy owns 8 businesses. He's got 8 dry cleaning stores. Well, if he's got 8 dry cleaning stores, he's got hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in personal guarantees signed. He's got dozens of employees who call in sick and steal stuff, and all kind of issues. He's got overhead. He's got stress. He's got all kind of pressure. So a lot of people with very successful jobs, high levels, high incomes, they particularly entrepreneurs, they don't own the business owns them. So don't be afraid to go after those people. Go after them first. The other thing that I did was a lot of people, they get involved in the business and they think it's a sales business. So they go out and they chase after the real estate salespeople and the insurance salespeople and the Avon lady and the car salespeople and all of that. I understood that that's the small business model. If you're a retailer, you get a retailer pack and you want to sell products, then you're looking for sales types. But if you want to build the big business, this is not a sales business. It's a teaching and training business. So if you look at, my high level ranks, and you say Billy Looper, softball coach, Wes Anderson, softball coach, Dave Liddy, softball coach, Melanie Mills, trainer, Steve Feinzig, yoga coach, Lisa Bell, school teacher. I went after all these people with good teaching skills. So think about that as you're going through your list. Don't immediately think, okay, I'm going to go out and get a bunch of salespeople to sell these gel packs. This is not what it's about. If you're doing the big business, this is about duplication. Remember what the formula is. Get a large group of people to do a few simple actions over a consistent period of time. Okay, and those few simple actions are going to be teaching stuff. Now, some key factors in terms of talking to prospects. We've talked about it before, but it's important. Your appearance when you leave the house. Again, I all the time I see people dress up for the ABB, but what about when they meet you at the Publix or the Winn-Dixie? That's when you're going to meet your prospect. Americans, Canadians, we're the most slovenly, sloppy, disgustingly dressed people on the world, okay? And we're kind of infecting the rest of the world. How do you look when you leave the house? If you bump in, if someone, do you look like somebody that someone would want to go into business with? So how do you dress with your appearance, your hair, your teeth, your breath, and of course your attitude? Other key factor when you're talking to prospect, a sense of urgency. Guys, we're in launch in 6 or 8 countries. We're in pre-launch operation in 35 or 40 countries. There is a window of opportunity right now. We're talking about legacy positions here. So anytime you're doing any of these approaches to prospects, you need to have a sense of urgency. Not just for the timing, but of course the positioning. I had a guy was sending me his information. He was emailing me to enroll. It took him 3 days later. Well, do you know he went down 4 levels in 3 days? And those 4 levels, one of those people I think is going to be a real superstar. So, I mean, he could have left a lot of money on the table. So positioning is important. So always have that sense of urgency. Don't get drawn into 20 questions, whether you're giving them a DVD or a mag pack, if you're inviting them to a PBR, asking them to get on a conference call. When you approach people, approach them when you're on your way somewhere. Call them up when you got something else to do, somewhere else to go. Hey, I just got a couple of minutes. I wanted to drop this off. And don't let them draw you into this. What's it about? Listen, it's 33 minutes. I want you to watch that. I'm going to call you tomorrow. Okay? Don't get drawn into the questions. Also, the next thing I would say, explain to them why they would be great in the business. Maybe they're really friendly, maybe they're ambitious, they're trustworthy, maybe they're a person of influence. Let them know why you think they'd be good for the business. Now, when you're out there talking to people, remember, keep focused on the goal of the process, which is runners who get runners. Now, what do I mean by that? We're going to sponsor people in the business, right? They're going to buy an executive kit. They're going to say they're going to do it. Some are going to do it now. Some are going to do it later. And some are going to do it never. That's just a reality of the business. You're looking for runners. Who are runners? Runners are when you do a PBR, they say, yeah, I'm in. I'm coming in at the executive level. They get on a 4 or 5 box auto ship and they schedule their own private business reception within 3 or 4 days. That's a runner. Okay? So your goal when you get started in the business is to get at least one runner on the left side and at least one runner on the right side. And then, of course, you need your runners to have runners. And obviously you want more. If you could have 2 on the left and 2 on the right or 3 on the left, 3 on the right, you're just going to build that much faster. But that's the outcome we're looking for. So here's the important thing. You've got to have enough action to get traction. And that's where the major blast comes in. If you listen to the training CDs or you've been to any of the functions, we often talk about the funnel. You need to have this funnel with prospects in it and coming into it at all times so that there's just always people working their way through the funnel. And they're looking at mag packs or DVDs, they're coming to PVRs, they're coming to ABBs, and if you've got a bunch of people in this funnel, eventually some will come out at the bottom as team members. Okay? When you start in the business, you've got to do a major blast. You have to get, I think, 50 people into the funnel. Now, it doesn't mean you have to make 50 presentations. It means you give them the DVD or you invite them to a PBR or you send them the step 1 email, any of the approaches, but you've got to get a bunch of people in the process. And then something we've talked about, which I think people have gotten away from, and I think it's a big mistake, is 2 or 3 exposures a day. Make a commitment, what that's going to be for you, whether it's 2 a day or 3 a day, and if it's going to be 5 days a week or 6 days a week or whatever, that you're keeping people, that you're presenting, just exposing the business to people. And again, it doesn't mean you're making 2 presentations a day or doing 2 PBRs a day. You don't have time for that. But it might be just a mag pack, it might be a DVD, it might be an email, but you're just, hey, 2 a day, Monday, 2, if you do that 5 days a week, right, that would be 10 people a week going into the funnel. You know what? If you have 10 people a week going into the funnel, you will always have some team members coming out the bottom. Now, in terms of inviting, the skill set for this is pretty universal, whether you're doing a PBR, ABB, conference call, getting them to watch a DVD, is pretty much the same thing. The key factors are strong posture. Come from strength, not weakness. Know what you have. Have that sense of urgency and always maintain professionalism. Okay, so that'll kind of goes across the board for all those things. Now, some specific language or some specific situations that that might come up for some of these individual things, I would like to talk about a little bit. With the DVD, this is the Agile phenomenon DVD. We've really revolutionized the business with that, and there's just some tips that make it work better. One of the things to say, it's only 33 minutes. Okay. One of the approaches we've seen with great success is people say, I'm coming over to the house, turn on the DVD player, I'm bringing over something I want you to watch. And they're actually driving over with the DVD, Phenomenon DVD, and having them watch it. The other thing is, I've had great success mailing the DVD and the mag pack together. And I send it in a priority mail envelope. And I put a cover note on it, just kind of letting them know what order to go through stuff, and I let them know what I want them to do first. But that has worked very effectively for me. And now, in terms of the mag pack, anytime you hand out one of those, tell the people to listen to the CD first. Same thing, mail it out with a priority mail, send it with the thing. And then for the DVD and the mag pack both, get on auto ship. It's just shocking to me how many people, they get it started in the business, they buy 50 or 100 mag packs, 50 or 100 DVDs, and they give those out at some point, 2 or 3 months, and then they never reorder. And they wonder why their business is growing. Guys, you know, you've got to have this stuff on a continuous basis. So get on an auto ship for both of those and just get them out in the universe. I mean, I want mag packs and DVDs. I want hundreds of them circulating in the universe all the time for me, just with my name and phone number on there, and just every seat back on an airplane, and every in taxis, and the car wash, and the chiropractor, and the dentist, and everywhere. I'm just, you know, the mail room, any place I can leave those, I want to leave those. Do the same thing. Now, if you're doing, if you're inviting people to an ABB or a virtual ABB that, you know, we do on the phone, here's a couple of things that could be very helpful for you. Now, let's say it's an ABB. Say we have a special presenter flying in from blank. So if Eric Worre's speaking, we have a special presenter flying in from Minneapolis. If Wes is speaking, we have a special presenter flying in from Miami. That's pretty impressive to people. So as opposed to just, hey, come to this meeting, they might say, hey, well, this is a unique one-time thing. I really should go see what this is about. If it's one of our top people, use this expression. You're going to hear from one of the most successful people in the business. Okay? Anybody who's a senior director, corporate director, diamond director, they're one of the most successful people in the business. You can say that. So tell your prospect that. You'll be hearing from one of the most successful people in the business. Now, let's say you got a small-scale ABB. You don't have a bunch of high-ranking pin ranks yet in your town. You could just say you're going to hear from one of the most successful people in the area, because that might be a director or a regional director for that area if it's a new market developing. And then here's another line, great, and this really works well. He or she is an expert at developing residual income. Or he or she is an expert at developing passive residual income. Okay? Now, in terms of the leadership call or the power training, I've had a lot of success with these, and I'd encourage you to use them for prospects. As you know, they're not prospecting events; they're training events. But whether it's the leadership call on Monday evenings that we do here in North America, or the power trainings we're doing in some of the markets, they're very effective to bring a prospect. But you just need to tell them that. Let them know. Hey, I want you to be on this call tonight. Listen in. Nobody's going to be presenting to you. Nobody will be trying to sell you anything. This is actually a training, and you can kind of eavesdrop in, and it'll give you a great idea on how the business is done. Okay, and people love to eavesdrop. They love to. And the other thing that happens with these, and that's why I've had probably 6 or 8 people that I brought into business by having them listen in on the leadership call, because when they're at a presentation, it's like people are selling to them. They're kind of crossed arms, crossed legs. They're defensive. When they're listening to a training thing and they know that nobody's trying to sell them anything, they're much more open, and they really check out what it's about. Now, in terms of the PBR, when you invite people to PBR, the greatest thing that ever going to happen is to say your grand opening. That's why we just stress so much for your major blast. Part of the major blast is always have your grand opening PBR. People love grand openings. I mean, people will drive 5 hours to a grand opening of a Walmart, for goodness sake, to see, Miss Missouri cut a ribbon at a, department store. They love grand openings. And the thing is, if you open up a restaurant, you'd have a grand opening and you would expect all of your friends and family to be there. Agile's no different. This is your grand opening. So call them up, say, hey, I'm having my grand opening. I want you there to support me. And believe me, you'll get a good turnout. Because the whole thing with PBRs is just get them there and then let them see the DVD. We're not going to, sell people. We're not going to twist their arms. We're not going to pressure them. But they need to just see it. Okay? And you got to get them there. And so the grand opening, I want you there to support me. Eric's line, of course, is one of my favorites. As soon as I heard it, I started using it all the time. If you love me, you'll be there. The guilt trip one. And then one other thing that I've said with success is just for PBRs is, hey, I'm having a small group of friends and colleagues over to the house, and I'd like you there to join me. Okay? So those things for PBRs, use that language, and that'll work well for you. Now, let's talk about a very serious issue that could be for some of you. People who don't get results. In other words, they say, no, I have invited 28 people to my grand opening PBR and nobody came. I invited 10 people to the business briefing and nobody showed up. I gave 100 DVDs out. Nobody watches them. Okay? Two issues there, if that's the case. First issue is you've got to sell the third party stronger. And by the way, just so you know, this is a self-development issue. So both these are related. But if you say, I've invited 28 people to the PBR and nobody came, or I had 10, that's a personal power issue. In other words, people are not motivated to act by you. Your presence, your gravitas, your demeanor, your attitude, it's not powerful enough. Okay? So what you have to do is, number one is you've got to really sell the third party better. Okay? So when you give out that DVD, you've got to say, listen, you've got to watch this DVD. This is a guy who's made $1 million a year for 10 years. He's an expert at creating residual income. It's only 33 minutes. You've got to check this thing out. Okay? Don't go with the, please, I want you to watch this DVD. Well, they don't care because you want them to watch the DVD. You've got to sell the third party thing. If you're inviting to the ABB, again, this guy is an expert at creating passive residual income. Hey, this is an expert. We're flying in from Denver. You've got to come and hear her speak. Use the third party more. And then the other issue is the self-development. Everybody should do 30 minutes of self-development a day, first thing in the morning. But if you're one of the people that is not getting results, then it's critical for you. You've got to start that every day. And you've got to understand, if you read The Magic of Thinking Big for 30 minutes, before you go out in the house in the morning, you will be a different person when you give somebody a DVD. If you read As a Man Thinketh for 30 minutes in the morning, you'll be a different person when you invite someone to your PBR. If you read Think and Grow Rich half an hour in the morning, believe me, there's a different look in your eye, there's a different tone in your voice, there's a whole different posture. You really do have more power if you do the personal development stuff. So, of course, we recommend this for everyone, but I'm just saying, if you're one of these people who are not getting results, then those two issues, really stress the third party stuff and really push the personal development time, 30 minutes every morning religiously. So remember, what's our formula for creating wealth in Agile and network marketing? We get a large group of people to take a few simple actions over a consistent period of time. So you don't have to be an expert at presentations. You don't have to be a big meeting presenter. You just have to be a conduit. Invite people to the third-party tools and then let those tools do the work. Thanks. Have a great day.